Okay, ignore the mess all over my desk. But this is your third Gizmo option, so we are focusing in on the 3D eclipses. So before I really get into much, let's get logged into Gizmo. Remember, it is your first initial and last name as your username, and your password is capital W, lowercase f, and then your student ID numbers. Okay, and then it's going to verify that you're entering into the correct class. And then I'm going to have my Gizmo work page out in front of me, so 3D eclipses. Need to make sure that I'm selecting 3D eclipses out of Gizmo. Okay, this is just the preview. You need to come up here to the purple launch button and click launch, and then I'm going to expand it so that it takes up my screen so you guys can see better. Now, the first thing I love to do with Gizmos is I love to just kind of explore what's going on. So I see that moon distance. Ooh, and I can change the moon distance, so how close it is versus how far away it is. The angle of the moon, so less of an angle, more of an angle. And this one you mainly see like down here. You can see it changes down there to something a little bit more observable, rather than, say, this one. I noticed, like, yes, it gets behind the Earth or close to the Earth, but I see more of a change up here. Okay? I can show some shadows, so whether it's the moon shadow or the Earth shadow. I can have the standard view, or I can go from the Earth's view or from the moon's view. Okay? I have play buttons, so I can see, like down here, I can see the moon revolving around the Earth. Here, the sun obviously is just rotating on its own axis. Now it's going to go into the Earth's, oh, and it must have gone just above. Oh, there's the shadow finally. Okay, so you kind of got to watch both. Okay, and now we're getting into February. Okay, so now obviously things are really wonky for the pure fact of I changed all these. Okay, so we want to make sure we reset this. You want to make sure that you are reading like what it needs to be done before you get going in your stuff and whatnot. So I'm going to bring that back to 1. The angle is 5.3. I'm going to go back to my standard view and take off my shadows. Okay, so that. Ooh, I can also adjust the speed of the simulation. I can adjust when this is happening, on the time of year, all of that. Okay, you have lots of options with this one. So like I said, I'm going to bring this out. First thing I want to do is I want to make sure I get my name on it. Okay, so Mrs. G. Vocabulary. Some of the vocabulary you're going to want to use when it comes to your short answer questions and responses. Eclipse, lunar eclipse, path of totality, penumbra, holy buckets, solar eclipse, and umbra. Okay? Prior knowledge questions. Do these before using the Gizmo. So I'm just rule of thumb. Gonna go to before and underline it. So, have you ever seen an eclipse? If so, describe what you saw. Okay? You may not have experienced an eclipse. That's okay. I'm not looking for everyone to have experienced this. I personally have experienced an eclipse, and oh my goodness, is it life-changing. So I will answer yes. I viewed the total eclipse. Sorry, and I should actually put total solar eclipse in 2000. Oh my goodness, now I'm gonna like, was it 16 or 17? It had to be 17. Will wasn't around yet. And it was amazing. Okay, so if you put no, that's fine. Maybe you want to talk about, like, you would like to see a total solar eclipse, because holy Hannah Banana, or something along those lines, okay? About how often do these eclipses happen, okay? How often are eclipses truly happening? Now, there is no wrong answer, I guess, because technically these eclipses are happening once a month, okay? But we may not always be able to see it. But cannot see. Okay, and this whole gizmo will explain why it's happening each month, but why we also can't see it. So, gizmo warm up. If you see a two-dimensional image of Earth, Moon, and Sun, you might predict that an eclipse occurs every time the Moon passes in front or behind Earth, or about twice a month. However, eclipses occur much more rarely. The 3D Eclipse gizmo shows two views of the Earth, Moon, and Sun, a top view from above and a side view below. The size of the Earth, Moon, and Sun are not to scale. If they were, the Sun and Moon would be microscopic. So what it's saying is you see this top view here, where we can see all three objects at any given time. Okay? Versus down here is the side view, where the Moon might disappear for a second behind the Earth. We may not always be able to see it. Okay? So, that is what's going on here. Okay? So, the first one states to set the simulation speed slider to the middle value and then click play. Based on the top view of the simulation panel, describe the motions of the Sun, Earth, and Moon. So, we are focusing in on the top view. So, we are not looking at this bottom one. We're only looking at the one that is currently showing. Okay? So, I'm going to set my simulation speed to about middle. And then I'm going to hit play, and I'm only going to watch this. So, if it helps to like cover that up, go for it. Okay, so how is the Sun moving? How is the Earth moving? And how is the Moon moving? Okay, so we can see that the Sun is rotating on its own axis. The Earth is rotating on its axis at a much quicker rate, but it is also revolving around the Sun. Now the Moon, from what we can see, is revolving around Earth. We can't see anything more than that. So I want you to put those observations into your own words. I'm going to pause. You may want to pause me right now so that you can get those words and ideas down on paper. Okay, so hopefully you paused and got your thoughts put down. I am moving on to step number 2. It says click reset and then click play again. This time focus on the side view at the bottom of the simulation. What do you notice about the Moon's orbit? So I'm going to hit reset. So basically it just put the Earth back where it was going. Again, if you don't want to focus on this, you don't have to. But now I'm going to look at this. And primarily I'm looking at what am I noticing about the Moon's orbit. Okay, so it's still going around the Earth. But it's kind of going like at a crooked sort of a pace. Where it's going above the pole, below the pole. Ooh, and now we're kind of going in the middle, but still a little below. Like, we're getting closer and closer to going over like the equator side rather than going over or under the poles. Okay? So, those are the sorts of things. Again, if you could, pause me now and get your thoughts written out. What are you noticing about the moon's orbit around the Earth? Okay, again, hopefully you paused me. If not, I gave you forewarning. Okay, for this gizmo, you have 2 activities. They are on the longer sides. So activity A, solar eclipse. You need to make sure you click reset. So I'm going to do that now. Reset. Under shadows, select moon. So I want the moon shadow. And then set the moon angle to 0, 0. So moon angle, I'm going to go all the way down to 0, 0. Okay? Then you are going to read through this and follow the instructions. Okay? So, eventually, like I see here, return the moon to 5.1 and increase the moon's distance. So you're going to have to then play with this stuff. So 5.1, and then I'm increasing the moon's distance. Okay? So, there is that. Activity B is all about lunar eclipses. So this is the idea that we've played it for a second. Okay, so click reset, and under shadows, select Earth. Okay, I don't know if you need the moon one anymore. And then set the moon distance to 1 and the moon angle to 0. So the moon distance goes down to 1, or as close as you can get without getting frustrated, and the moon angle goes to 0. Okay? Then you're going to follow through here. I see play, pause, back, play, Earth, so on and so forth. Make sure you are filling all this in. Now, it asks you on number 6, use the gizmo to find the dates of the lunar eclipses in 1 year. Be sure that the moon is actually darkened by Earth's shadow for each eclipse. Label each eclipse a total eclipse, the moon is completely darkened, or a partial eclipse where only part of the moon is darkened. You really only need to fill in 12 of these. Okay? You don't need to fill in all of them because it might go beyond a year. You're only looking at 1 full year. Okay? So, I'm going to underline that. You're only looking for 1 year. So, from January 1st until December 31st. Okay? So, that is it. Like I said, it's a little bit on the longer side, but it's just a lot of data recording. So, if you need anything, please ask your teachers. We would love to help. And yeah, thanks so much.